Qiang Jin Jiu. Book 1, I Was an Outcast Liege. Chapter 19, Truth vs. Lies. The breeze caressed past the hot summer night, whilst the moon hung over the lush tree tops. Xiao Qiye was in his prime form, so the rush of wine promptly made him hot. At that moment though, he was irritable. He stared at Shen Zequin as the latter made his way down. He said, "So, the temple of penitence can still teach one to purify one's heart of desires and change one's temper." Shen Zequin dismissed the waiter and said, "I'm the best at grinning and bearing it." Xiao Qiye accepted the waiter's tea to rinse his mouth. Then he wiped his mouth and said, "At least do a decent job if you want to make it up. You probably don't even know how to spell those last 4 words. We are all just playing along for fun." Shen Zequin wiped his hands and smiled at him. "Yet, you took it seriously." Xiao Qiye did not look at him. He simply threw the handkerchief onto the tray and said, "The show is over." Who would believe that? Someone has to play that particular role, too, right? This Xiao Xian was just perfect for it. Didn't you feel good watching it too? That blade is a treasure. Shen Zequin's eyes wandered down to his waist. Xiao Qiye raised his hand to block his view and said, "And the owner of it isn't." One of the lanterns upstairs went out. Shen Zequin sighed and said, "How do you expect me to reply to that? That's rather inappropriate. You have a good eye." Xiao Qiye moved his hand away and stared at him ruthlessly and fiercely. Few people can recognize a good blade. The man himself is precious. Shen Zequin went along with his words, "So naturally, everything he wears is quality stuff. Even a blind cat can stumble upon a dead mouse. I was merely guessing." "Why is it that when you praise me," Xiao Qiye said, "I feel as if I've seen a ghost?" "You hardly get praised, huh?" Shen Zequin comforted him and said, "I haven't even voiced my most sincere ones yet." The surrounding people had all dispersed. Xiao Qiye said in a lukewarm tone, "You sure can endure. Grand plans are ruined by a lack of forbearance. There's more of my capability to come." Shen Zequin smiled, "Don't be so anxious." "Grand plans," Xiao Qiye said, "the Chu capital is only this big. What else is there for you to strive this hard for?" "I was just saying," Shen Zequin paused and looked affectionately at Xiao Qiye. "And you really believed it?" "Second young master Xiao, I really couldn't tell that you are the kind who are naive and artless. I'm just a frivolous young master who's just loafing around drinking and dining and waiting to die." Xiao Qiye said. "How would I know how treacherous the world is? There's even someone like you to coax me." "My bad." Shen Zequin moved a step. "I saw how pitiful you were with your talons and fangs sealed off. Slaying with your blade tonight must have been pretty satisfying for you." "A little." Xiao Qiye lifted his leg to block Shen Zequin's way and said, "Where are you going?" "We aren't done talking yet." "Sending you back to your residence." Shen Zequin said, "You helped me out of a tight spot tonight. I'm so grateful that I'm shedding tears. There is no way I can ever repay you for this kindness." Xiao Qiye smiled and said, "You are so full of lies. You must have deceived quite a number of people, huh? There aren't many who have been taken in." Shen Zequin looked back. A man would always have to tell a few lies, like the "I've lots of money" kind. Xiao Qiye withdrew his leg and said, "I'm nothing compared to you." "See," Shen Zequin said gently, "you're being polite again." There was simply no way to talk with this man. Because there was no way he could tell which of his words were the truth and which were the lies. Every sentence was like the superficial surface of muddied water. Even if he circled around it, he could still not pry anything out of it. Xiao Qiye turned around and whistled for his horse. He said, "It was because of the incident tonight that you speak on such close terms to me. Everyone is gone now. It's meaningless to keep on pretending. Then what can I do?" Shen Zequin picked up the lantern and looked at him gently and obediently. "Give you another bite." Xiao Qi swiftly took a step closer and said with ease, "You use this mortal flesh of yours to bewitch others. What do you want me to think when you look at me like that?" Unperturbed, Shen Zequin said to him in a soft voice, "I was born with such a pair of expressive eyes." Xiao Qi used his whip to point between Shen Zequin's eyebrows without actually touching him. He said derisively, "What a waste of those eyes. All they contain within are schemes. I was born to be lowly." Shen Zequin lifted his finger and slowly pushed aside his whip. He said, "If I don't scheme, then how am I going to have my fun? I did what I did tonight for myself." Xiao Qi said mercilessly. "Don't you go around thinking it was because I'm interested in you. The moon is so beautiful tonight." Shen Zequin said, "Why do you have to spoil the mood and stop me from thinking so?" Xiao Qi flipped onto the horse and looked at him for a moment as he held the reins. He said frivolously, "I fear that you will latch onto me because of this bit of kindness and get on my nerves with all those weeping and wailing. Did you have too much to drink?" Shen Zequin insinuated. "You are beyond cure." "Who knows about that?" Xiao Qi said. "It's not like you have never made such an unreasonable scene before." The night quietened down. Xiao Qi withdrew his gaze from him. This could be said to be a small victory. He spurred his horse on a few steps when he suddenly heard the man behind him say with a smile, "Have you found what you've lost 5 years ago?" Xiao Qi abruptly looked back and instantly reined in his horse. He demanded in a frosty voice, "Return the thumb ring to me." Shen Zequin looked at him, but Xiao Qi found the expression in his eyes wicked. Shen Zequin said, "You want the thumb ring? No issues. Bark twice like a dog and I'll give it back to you." The gerfalcon swooped down and landed on Xiao Qi's shoulder. Together with its master, it stared frostily at Shen Zequin. It was the dead of the night. An unnamed watchman struck his clapper and startled the lantern in Shen Zequin's hand into extinguishing. The road went dark. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. It was several days later before Liege dared to show his face before Xiao Qi again. He was surprised to find that Xiao Qi's anger had yet to subside. Ice fragments kept scattering all around them while they were listening to the music, scaring those delicate, smooth-skinned ladies so much that not one of them dared to come over to wait upon them. Liege held the teacup in his hands to shield himself and whispered, "Are you still angry?" Xiao Qi crunched the ice to pieces in his mouth and said, "Nope." Liege Heng's hair stood on end as he heard those crunching sounds. He said, "Autumn is right around the corner, so don't eat ice like that. It's rather terrifying. Such a big cellar of ice is prepared every year. It would be a waste to leave it there." Xiao Qi propped up both his legs and leaned back. "Then, I'll tell you something nice." Liege could not help but shift his butt over. He said, "That Feng Quan, do you know who he is?" "Who?" "Remember that little lady I told you about?" Liege beamed and said with shifty eyes, "Feng Quan is her younger brother. She has now won the favor of Pan Rugui, so how could Pan Rugui not promote Feng Quan? This Feng Quan is such a glib talker. He even coaxed Jilei until Jilei was over the moon and wanted to take him as his son." From the looks of it, Xiao Qi propped up his head with one arm and glanced at Liege "You really have your heart set on that little lady?" "Of course." Liege said, "So, the incident that day was all done by that bastard, Jilei. As his son, how would Feng Quan dare to defy his father's order? So, you are saying you want me to let him off?" Xiao Qi asked. Liege was a flexible man who did not have the aspirations expected of the descendants of the imperial clan. He hurriedly slipped down from his chair and squatted before Xiao Qi to implore him. "My friend, please let him off this once for the sake of my romance. Besides, didn't we make him eat until he puked? He's Pan Rugui's man, after all. It isn't good not to give him face. It has only been a few days since Xiao Fusui's incident. His Majesty is still watching us. Xiao Qiye suddenly stared at him. He sat up and asked, "Did you touch her?" Liege hummed. Xiao Qiye said, "You touch Pan Rugui's woman right under his nose. If he were a real man, I wouldn't do it." Liege reluctantly stood up and said, "He's just an old eunuch with just that bit of trick to liven things up. He beat up a delicate and ravishing beauty all day long until she wept. This beauty was originally mine. If you were in my shoes, would you do her or not?" Exasperated at Li Jianheng's failure to live up to expectations, Xiao Qiye said, "No." Li Jianheng pleaded again, "Xian, we are friends. How big an issue can it be? Just turn a blind eye. If you let Feng Quan off, I'll give you something else to play with." Xiao Qiye lay back again and said nothing. If Pan Rugui found out about this incident, then Xiao Fusui's episode would be nothing in comparison. That old dog would definitely think of ways to kill them both. His promotion of Feng Quan alone was sufficient for anyone to get a glimpse of how much he doted on that woman. Pan Rugui was already 65 years of age. He had no biological son, and none of the pretty women around him these years could remain by his side for so long. If he truly regarded this woman as his wife or concubine, then he might even dare to hack Li Jianheng to death. Xiao Qiye listened to Li Jianheng's incessant chatter and said, "Since you dared to do this, does it mean you already have a plan thought out?" Li Jianheng sat on the carpet and lowered his head to study his bamboo fan. He said in a small voice, "Not really. It's just that I've heard that Pan Rugui had once kept a toy boy. All I have to do is to just send him one to play with." "No." Xiao Qiye said, "There aren't many who could surpass that beauty of yours, are there?" Li Jianheng was on tenterhooks and did not dare to hide it from him. He said, "Lately, quite a number of people have been asking around about that." Shen Lanzhou. Asking about what? Asking about his price, and whether they could afford to raise him. Seeing Xiao Qiye's expressionless face, Li Jianheng hurriedly grabbed the chair and said, "Money is not an issue. But I don't dare to look for him. If he were to take desperate measures after being pushed into the corner. Xian, help me this once. You just need to send him to Pan Rugui. After the job is done, I'll give him silver. Or even gold." Xiao Qiye rested his hands on his knees in silence. Thinking there was hope, Li Jianheng said again, "Don't you hate Shen Wei? Once you fix him this time, Shen Zequan would not dare to throw his weight before you in the future. Think about it. If he didn't die, he would be able to turn things around. But if he were to be involved in such a shady deal in the Chu capital, he would lead a life worse than death. Furthermore, isn't the Empress Dowager also thinking of? I thought you were using your brain while speaking." Xiao Qiye slowly pulled out his legs and said, "Turns out it's all fucking mush inside. Xian, Xian." Seeing him leave, Li Jianheng lifted the hem of his robe and chased after him out of the door. Xiao Qiye stepped out of the building and mounted his horse. Without even turning his head back, he left. Even if they let Shen Zequan be Pan Rugui's forbidden pleasure, would Pan Rugui dare to accept him? This man was the man that the Empress Dowager was always watching with the intent to protect. If Pan Rugui dared to take him, then he would be burning his own bridges. Li Jianheng was out of his mind. But, if Li Jianheng really dared to do that? If Li Jianheng really dared to do that? How would he suddenly dare to do that? Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Shen Zequan got off work. He had only just removed his authority token and stepped out of the door when he saw that excellent, handsome steed of Xiao Qiye. He descended the stairs and asked, "Here to ask for your thumb ring back." Xiao Qiye snapped off a branch with leaves and held it between his teeth. He looked at him for a moment and said, "It's broad daylight, and you are still not sober? Return it to me. Stop bullshitting me. You weren't this short-tempered that other night." Shen Zequan looked at the sky. It would be too humiliating for the viceroy if you were to stand here and bark like a dog. Which means you aren't here for the thumb ring. So, what's the matter? Spit it out. Aren't you well aware of what's the matter? Xiao Qiye sat on the rock with his long legs to prop up his elbows and arms. Prince Chu wanted to give Xiao Fusui a thrashing, and you could even get a line on it from inside the temple. I forgot all about it at the turn of the head. But now that I think about it, you must have planted a man by his side, right? If he wasn't an informer, then he was the instigator who told him to do so. If I were that capable, Shen Zequin said, I would not have been reduced to raising elephants. Who knows if that's the truth or a lie? Xiao Qiye's eyes were aloof and cold. You have to give me a clear account before I can decide whether or not to believe it. End chapter. Qiang Jin Jiu. Book 1, I Was an Outcast Liege. Chapter 20, Decision. I'm being wronged. Shen Zequin said, whenever something happened now, it's definitely all Shen Lanzou's fault. Well, there has been trouble after trouble ever since you were released. Xiao Qiye said, Xiao Fusui, the Imperial Academy, Pan Rugui. How is it that every incident has something to do with you? Shen Zequin said wryly, that's right. Why is it that they all have something to do with me? Don't you know the reason for this? Back then, Xiao Shisui found me in the Hashi sinkhole. If he had used his blade to end me, then these incidents today would never have happened. Xiao Qiye took down the branch of leaves and said, back then, you fought to survive and drag out an ignoble existence. Did you only come to realize what it feels like to be alive today? The calmness in Shen Zequin's eyes was so placid that Xiao Qiye found it surreal. This man was extremely odd. It was the same that day during the feast. His every move carried with it an undercurrent of having left behind the past. But Xiao Qiye could still clearly remember the look in Shen Zequin's eyes when the latter had bitten him 5 years ago on that snowy night. Such disconnect from reality seemed to be like a bottomless abyss that he could not get a grasp of. Those spurts of hatred seemed to have been worn away until others had no way of telling where his limit lay. Everyone at the feast humiliated him, and yet he merely lowered his head and smiled. When Xiao Qiye had said that he was seeing him in a different light, he had truly meant it. If a man could grin and bear it to this extent, then that darkness under that calm was, on the contrary, all the more disturbing to Xiao Qiye. What it feels like to be alive. Shen Zequin smiled again. I can feel it every single day and night while I was in the Temple of Penitence. Now that I've been released, all the more I find that living isn't easy. I treasure my life. And I'm afraid. But they want me to shoulder the sin and pay for all those human lives with my own. I, Shen Lanzou, has only this one life. How is that even enough to pay for them all? I ingratiate myself with everyone in so many ways, all in the hope that second young Master Xiao and the various nobles will be magnanimous and won't be too hard on me. Today, you want me to give you an account. Second young Master Xiao, at least give me a reason. By the time Xiao Qiye listened to this point, he had already changed his mind. He has a keen nose and he always vaguely felt uneasy every time Shen Zequin cooperated in such a compliant and docile manner. But Shen Zequin yielded to neither cajolery nor coercion. No matter how hard Xiao Qiye tried to pry it out of him, he could not tell the truth from his lies. He did not believe a word of what Shen Zequin said. Just as Shen Zequin had said that night, everyone was just playing along for fun. Since that was the case, so why take it seriously? But although people could lie, the traces left behind could not. He just had to mingle among the 9 schools of thoughts in the Chu capital, and 10 to 1 he would be able to pry something loose. Shen Zequin planted a spy by Liege and Heng's side, and it was certain that this person would not be an expert. Based on Shen Zequin's current circumstances, he could only bribe an errand runner or an attendant. This matter with Liege Unhung was questionable both on the inside and on the outside. If he could not investigate this thoroughly, then there will be no end to troubles in the future. Ever since Xiao Qiye cast his lot with Prince Chu, he found himself sleeping less. I came looking for you to play. How did it become an interrogation? Xiao Qiye changed the topic. He blew the leaves on the branch and lamented, I heard that someone is making inquiries about you recently. This involves Prince Chu's dignity, so naturally, I have to come and ask you. Each time you come looking for me to play, Shen Zequin said, I'll lose sleep for a night. You can't put it that way. Xiao Qiye said, you aren't having an easy time, and I'm not having a good time either. We can turn the page on the old grudges between us and let bygones be bygones. Shen Zequin laughed and said, tens of thousands of lives in the 6 prefectures of Zongbo were lost. And the second young master Xiao wants to bury the hatchet with me. Times are different now. Xiao Qiye finally threw away the branch. He rose to his feet and said, you have now received the favor of the Hua clan, and you're the man in the Empress Dowager's good graces. How would I still dare to offend you? Calling me second young master Xiao sounds so distant. We could be said to be nodding acquaintances now. Right? Lanzo. Shen Zequin merely smiled and said, farewell, second young master Xiao. Xiao Qiye got on his horse and looked at him from above. He said, when are you going to return the thumb ring to me, Lanzo? A worn-out thumb ring isn't worth a cent and keeping it will just revolt you. But why is it that instead of returning it to me, you seem like you have come to treat it as a treasure? I wear it on me. Shen Zequin said to Xiao Qiye, in the hope that the second young master Xiao's ferocious aura would ward off evil. So, how could I bear to return it to you this easily? Xiao Qiye lashed his horsewhip with a crack and said, don't you know? It's exactly evil aura that the second young master has. Shen Zequin stood where he was and watched him gallop away into the distance. His smile faded away, leaving only an unfathomable stillness. The setting sun dipped and the orange light reflected under his feet extended into the shadow of Xiao Qiye's gradually disappearing back. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Stars adorned the night sky. Grand Tutor Qi opened the newly drawn map and showed it to Shen Zequin. The former Eastern Palace did not have the authority to deploy troops at the frontier. But it came to receive intimate knowledge from the Ministry of War on the setups of the various lands' garrison troops. This is that of the Liege Great Commandery. It's backed by Hanjian Mountains and its west leads to Loxia Pass, while the east overlooks the Biancha 12 tribes. Shen Zequin pointed at the Hanjian Mountains on the east side. Autumn is around the corner. There is an undersupply of pasture for the Biancha cavalry, so they are bound to rob the mutual trade market at the boundary. Xiao Jiming wants to deploy his troops. So why isn't there a memorial seeking instructions being sent to the Chu capital these days? Because His Majesty is severely ill. Grand Tutor Qi pondered over it. In the spring this year, Xiao Jiming had only submitted one memorial. He surely has an informant in the Chu capital. Since he still has yet to submit a memorial for the deployment as of today, then it could only mean one thing. Shen Zequin said under his breath, His Majesty doesn't have long to live. So, exactly who is it that can secure the imperial court is Xiao Jiming's reason for biding his time now. Grand Tutor Qi took out a brush, dipped it in ink, and drew a circle around Liege. Prince Chu's accession to the throne will only benefit the Xiao clan. They have been at odds with the Hua clan for too long. Because of the Zongbo incident, they have fallen to the disadvantageous position of being under the control of others, and the opportunity to turn the tide in their favor is currently right before them. Xiao Jiming will definitely not pass up this opportunity. But teacher has also said that day. Shen Zequin pointed to the Chu capital in the map. As long as the gates of the Chu capital remain closed, Xiao Qiye remains the hostage from Liege. With him in the Empress Dowager's hand, how would Xiao Jiming be able to act? Since you mentioned this matter. Grand Tutor Qi cast aside his brush. Then, I will tell you of another matter. Teacher, please speak. In your view, What kind of man is the Xiao Qi? Shenzhequan lowered his eyes to look at the map and replied, sharp. Smart. Doesn't like to follow the guidelines. I think he is. Grand Tutor Qi scratched his head as if he could not think of a suitable word. After a moment of frustration, he sprawled over the table and said mysteriously to Shenzhequan, I think he is the opportunity heaven sent to Liege to turn things around. He's a natural-born talent. Shenzhequan swung his brush and asked, why does teacher say so? Grand Tutor Qi immediately got under the table and pulled out the book he had written with his own hands. Over the years, he sensed himself becoming old and forgetful, and so he had recorded down many matters on paper. With swishing sounds, he flipped through several pages, then leaned over the table again and pushed the book to Shenzhequan. These are the details that Qiang managed to pry from the Ministry of War. In the first year of the Yangji era, that is, 8 years ago, Xiao Qiye was 14 years of age when he followed Xiao Jiming into battle at Bianxia. In the middle of the summer, Xiao Jiming was besieged by 3 Bianxia tribes at the eastern side of the Hongjian mountain ranges. His retreat route was cut off and he was trapped before the Hongjiang River. The Prince of Liege's reinforcements did not arrive for 3 days and Xiao Jiming pressed on with his desperate battle for survival. But the cavalries of the 3 Bianxia tribes were nimble. As you know, Liege has a legion of armored cavalry. They can deal a powerful blow head-on like a wall of iron, but they can't respond fast enough to a battle that entails back and forth pursuits. Drag it on for too long, and the one who would get exhausted will be Xiao Jiming's troops. Grand Tutor Qi downed a few mouthfuls of wine. But on the third night, Bianxia retreated like the ebbing of tide. Because their heavily guarded army provisions were set on fire. The fire spread from the center and threw their rear formation into disarray. Xiao Jiming seized the opportunity to fight a decisive battle and broke through the siege in one night. However, the statement from Liege was cut off at this point. The following details were all information that your Shifu took a lot of effort to find out. Can you guess how the heavily guarded army provisions were sent up into flames? Allegedly, the 3 Bianxia tribes constructed and dug a trench for lavatory purposes near the river. Xiao Qiye silently felt his way from the Hongjiang River to the trench and crawled in that filthy and stinky ditch for half a night. At this point, Grand Tutor Qi stroked his chin. Yet, Liege suppressed such a meritorious service and did not report it. Not only that. Xiao Qiye came to the Chu capital and became an idle hoodlum, but how could a loafer have such endurance? Just imagine. Under that kind of circumstances, if he fails, then his eldest brother would be the one to die. Yet, he could lay dormant for 2 days until the Bianxia troops let their guards down before he set the fire. Did he know that his eldest brother's life was at stake during those 2 days? And what if he had not set the fire correctly, or if he failed to grasp the timing accurately? 1 minute earlier, and Bianxia would be strengthened. 1 minute later and Liege would be weakened. Yet, he struck right at that exact timing. How could he have done it if he didn't have extraordinary insight? Shenzhequan seemed to be moved by this. At last, Grand Tutor Qi said, moreover, this lad is insanely wild. When he did this, he only brought with him this many people. Grand Tutor Qi extended 2 fingers and paused for a moment. Lanzhou, I thought Pan Rugui transferred him to the Imperial Army to avoid trouble, but it turned out to be a blunder. They thought the Imperial Army was already written off, but what was the Imperial Army's background? They were all from military households who followed the Emperor back then to get into the 8 cities. The 8 great clans did not think much of them, so they relied on the backing of the Emperor alone. But now, the Emperor doesn't want them anymore, and so these 20,000 men became weapons without a master. It's fine if they really fall into the hands of a hedonistic young master. But if they fall into Xiao Qiye's hand, then what else is there to deter Xiao Jiming from deploying troops to protect Prince Chu? So that's it? The part where Shenzhequan had been puzzling over before have suddenly cleared up. He had thought that since Xiao Jiming left Xiao Qiye in the Chu capital, then he should understand that this was a pawn under the control of others. Either he abandoned it, or acted with prudence. If he was being prudent, then he should not and must not let Xiao Qiye get so close to Prince Chu. Otherwise, he would be asking for trouble. No matter what he did, he would always be on tenterhooks and cleaning up messes. This bout of autumn chill in the Chu capital is about to break out in full fury. We lack influence and power, so it would be best to steer clear of it. Grand Tutor Qi's mouth was parched. He continued, because of the Imperial Academy incident, a distance has already formed between the Empress Dowager and Shi Guan, as well as with His Majesty. In order to ensure that her authority does not decline, the matter of the imperial heir would become an urgent matter. If anything were to happen to Prince Chu these days, then the Xiao clan's efforts would have been in vain, much like drawing water with a sieve. So, it would seem that Xiao Qiye's urgency to meet you today must have been because he was already on the alert. However, the Empress Dowager herself is more wary and sensitive. Back then, to let Imperial Prince Ning ascend to the throne, she did not hesitate to exterminate everyone from the Eastern Palace. So, today, to guard against the unexpected, she will also wipe out Prince Chu. Xiao Qiye wants to ensure Prince Chu's safety, but I'm afraid that it won't be an easy feat to achieve. Since the Empress Dowager will not use Shi Guan, then the only one left is Ji Lei. Shen Zequan's eyes were calm. The experts in the Jinyi Way are as plentiful as clouds. And they are clean and efficient in their jobs. The fight between those in power is one thing. Grand Tutor Qi said. It's time for you to decide whether to pursue Prince Chu or follow the Empress Dowager. Shen Zequan extended his hand and covered the map. End chapter. Qiang Jin Jiu. Book 1, I Was an Outcast Liege. Chapter 21, Autumn Hunt. It rained several times in the 10th month of the lunar year, following which the maple leaves in Mount Feng turned red. Shen Zequan had already caught sight of some slight frost while herding the elephants during the morning court. Emperor Xian's illness improved somewhat along with the coming of autumn. Word had it that his meals had resumed, and his coughing during the morning court had eased off a lot. According to tradition, the emperor could only head to the Nanlin hunting grounds only in the 11th month. But Emperor Xian seemed to be worried that traveling might prove too difficult in cold weather, so he gave orders for the preparations of the autumn hunt to be carried out at the start of the 10th month. The ones responsible for patrol duty are still the 8 great training divisions and the Jinyi Wei. Chen Yang carried the blade for Xiao Qiye and said, "Viceroy, didn't His Majesty flew into a rage the last time?" "That was last time. Xiao Qiye had just come from the military drill grounds." He wiped his sweat. His Majesty was furious last time because he felt that there were safety concerns both on the inside and on the outside. But it's different this time. Shi Guan had been despised and shunned by Her Majesty. Having been left out in the cold for 2 months, he will be desperately wanting to put himself back into His Majesty's graces. Are such small favors able to move Shi Guan? When Chen Yang saw no one nearby, he said, "After all, Her Majesty has been gaining power for a long time, and His Majesty is ill. Even if he is willing to hand Shi Guan an olive branch, Shi Guan wouldn't dare to accept it, would he? You said it yourself, that it's a small favor." Xiao Qiye put on the outer garment he had grabbed. What if His Majesty gave Shi Guan great power and authority? A few days ago, His Majesty even asked about the age of the Shi clan's daughter. Prince Chu does not have a princess consort. If he really bestowed marriage upon them, then even if Shi Guan did not have the intent to, it would appear differently to Her Majesty. Chen Yang said, "A pity we don't have a young miss at home. It's better that way." Xiao Qiye said, "If I were to have a sister, she would have to be like Commander-in-Chief Qi. Otherwise, she would have no control over her life. Most likely, she will be forced to marry a husband she has never seen before." Having spoken to this point, he slowed his pace. The Hua clan has always been the first choice for imperial concubines. At this age, Hua Xiangyi, who has been raised and nurtured by the Empress Dowager, has yet to be bestowed a marriage. Even His Majesty does not dare to offend her and could only call her his younger sister. When it comes to whom she will be betrothed to in the future, it's Her Majesty's arrangements that they still have to go along with. Chen Yang said, fortunately, our Xiao Shizi is already married. But who else can third young Miss Hua be betrothed to? Viceroy, I really can't tell at all. The Qi clan is the best choice. Xiao Qiye smiled. If Qi Zuyan was born a man, the Empress Dowager would have long betrothed third young Miss Hua to her. A pity Qi Zuyan is a woman, and the Hua clan does not have any man of lawful birth in this generation. So, they can only eat this piece of meat but not move their chopsticks. They are getting anxious. The horse was led over and Xiao Qiye stroked it. Come on. Let's go to the East Market on Donglong Street again. Asterisk. Shen Zequan had only just stepped into Donglong Street. Having been released from his imprisonment, he could naturally no longer stay in the Temple of Penitence. As no one mentioned it at the outset, this matter was set aside. But in the 8th month, Qiao Tianya suddenly took notice of it and followed him to the Temple of Penitence. When he saw Grand Tutor Qi all covered in mud acting like a lunatic, he got Shen Zequan to open an account in advance with the Jinyi Wei so that he could find a proper place to live in. Thus, at the end of the 9th month, Shen Zequan moved to an old alley. The rent was cheap, and the place was suitable for his current status. Who exactly is this person Shifu wants me to find? Shen Zequan took at the self-selling contract and looked at the word Sanjiao. The place of origin above was blank. Qingqing looked around the crowd and said, Uncle didn't mention it either. He only said that the teacher has permitted it. That is, to let this person take care of your daily living in the future. After Shen Zequan moved out of the Temple of Penitence, it became inconvenient for him to communicate with Grand Tutor Qi. He was unwilling to raise messenger pigeons. Firstly, it was too easy to expose themselves with it, and secondly, Xiao Qiye's gerfalcon was too fierce, it left a deep impression on him. At present, they could only rely on Ji Gang and meet up when Ji Gang used his identity as an errand runner to venture outdoors to make purchases. It was extremely inconvenient, but they had no better option for the time being. He should be in the East Market. Shen Zequan said to Qingqing. Let's go take a look. Donglong Street was near Kaling River. It was a pleasure district. There was a trading market set up on the eastern side to deal in human trading. Those who were selling themselves to bury their parents would also choose this place to kneel because the common households and residences would all come here to pick errand runners or maidservants. Xiao Qiye gripped a register of names from the Prince Chu's residence with the intention to come here to investigate some of the men's origins. He had only just strode out of the middleman's place when he saw a familiar nape. Chen Yang said, Isn't that? Xiao Qiye raised his hand and Chen Yang fell silent. Shen Zequan kept the self-selling contract. Feeling a chill on his nape, he looked back. Xiao Qiye was already standing behind him. Oh, a notable figure. Shen Zequan said, Why are you standing behind me? Looking at you. Xiao Qiye stuffed away the register in passing and strolled over to Shen Zequan's side. Are you here to buy servants? Shen Zequan said, as if in jest, I'm selling myself. How on earth can I afford to buy someone? Already reduced to such a state, huh? Xiao Qiye sized him up. Isn't it said that many people are seeking you at high prices? It's all about the feeling. Shen Zequan continued to walk. They have to catch my eye before I can decide whether to accept them or not. Xiao Qiye knew what kind of men they were and said, It sure isn't easy to choose between the ugly and the repulsive, is it? I'm no match for the second young master. Shen Zequan looked askance at him. Following Prince Chu must have given you your fair share of flesh. Xiao Qiye said, envious. Come look for me. Shenzequan smiled back and said, I haven't been reduced to that stage yet. Both men had almost arrived at the end. Shenzequan turned aside and said, then I won't bother second young master Xiao to accompany me further. I'm heading back. There's no hurry. Xiao Qiye remained where he was. This autumn hunt, we still have to look out for each other. The Jin Wei and the Imperial Army have no common ground. Shenzequan looked at him. So, what is there for me to look out for you? Xiao Qiye said, how cold. If I often go over to you to stretch my legs, we can come to share a common ground. Shenzequan did not answer him. After he left, Xiao Qiye was still rooted at the same spot. Who is he looking for in this place? Xiao Qiye gently stroked the hilt of the blade with his thumb. Qing. As expected, it's Qing. Chen Yang. Here. Go and check it out. Xiao Qiye said, look into all 18 generations of Qing's ancestors. After Shenzequan's search for the man had been disrupted by Xiao Qiye, he was placed on consecutive rotational duties, and so he did not manage to find any more free time. On the eve of the autumn hunt, it was finally his turn to receive an assignment. Sure enough, it was to accompany the emperor to the Nanlin hunting grounds. One day, Shenzequan got off work and returned home. Before pushing the door open, he sensed the presence of someone else in the house. With a cloak around him, Feng Quan drank his tea with his fingers sticking up and said from the other side of the door, aren't you coming in? Shenzequan pushed the door open. There was no light lit in the house. With his snow-white face immersed in the darkness, Feng Quan looked like a wandering ghost. He set aside the tea and said, I'm here to convey a message from Her Majesty. Shenzequan threw his dirty robe on the small clothes rack with curvy raised ends and said, thank you for the trouble. Yeah. Feng Quan looked at Shenzequan maliciously and tossed him an object. If it weren't a matter of urgency, would I have needed to come in person? You have been graced with so many favors from the Empress Dowager. And now it's time to repay it all one at once. If this matter falls through this autumn hunt, then you won't be able to survive through it either. Shenzequan caught the object. It was an Eastern pearl wrapped in a strip of cloth. A wipe of his fingertip revealed the ink traces of half a character on the strip of cloth lin. Chu. Shenzequan's eyes shifted back to Feng Quan's face. Feng Quan stood up and walked over to Shenzequan. He said, if you succeed, the Empress Dowager can still spare your life and treat you like a dog to order around. But if you fail, then there's no point in keeping you. Martial arts experts will be as plentiful as trees in a forest. Shenzequan said. I'll try my best. Feng Quan stared daggers at him for a while before he let out a mocking smile. He strode out of the door, shook on his cloak, and melted away into the darkness of the night. Shenzequan lit a lamp and stood by the side of the table as he burned away the strip of cloth. The tongue of the flame licked the fabric, turning the character lin into ashes. The Nanlin hunting grounds was located on the southeast side of the Chu capital and encompassed a wide area. Half of the usual ingredients used by the court of imperial entertainments came from this place. The 8 great training division forces, half of which had been mobilized, followed after the emperor in a grand display of might. Shenzequan was herding the elephants when he heard the thunderous sounds of galloping horse hooves. He did not have to look back to know whose horse it was. Sure enough, he saw the gerfalcon swoop over his head and haul up a wild mouse from among the grass before it went soaring into the sky again. Xiao Qiye and Liege unhung, along with a group of rich young masters from the Chu capital, spurred their horses past him and noisily dashed straight ahead. The jet-black steed with a snow-white patch on its chest under him was truly a conspicuous sight. Xiao Wu looked up in envy and said, this Viceroy Xiao's eagle and horse are all wonderful treasures. Shenzequan said. All wild animals. Xiao Wu was young and could not stand loneliness, so he was always wanting to converse with Shenzhequan. Sitting on the horse, he munched on dried sweet potatoes and said in a Hubei province accent, "Chuangur, do you know the names of that horse and eagle?" Shenzhequan smiled and said, "They are wild, there's only so much they can be called." Xiao Wu stretched his body out and said expressively, "That eagle is called Meng. Don't you think it sounds fierce? But that horse's name isn't fierce. It's called Lang Tao Shuijin." He enunciated each word, sounding so childlike that it amused the group of adults. Gasping for breath, Liege Unhung looked back and said to Xiao Qi, "Man, each time I see him, I always wonder why he wasn't born a woman." Xiao Qi turned around the horse and looked at Liege Unhung. Liege Unhung said, I know. I'm not befuddled to that extent. When we arrive at the venue in a moment." Xiao Qi said, "You have to tell me when you venture out. Don't stray away from the guards around night time. Not one of the women you brought must be allowed into the tent either." "I didn't bring a woman along." Liege Unhung put on a bold front to quibble. Xiao Qi threw him an indescribably wicked smile. Behind them, Chen Yang spurred his horse on and caught up to them. He said, "Viceroy, I've gotten someone to send all those women back." Upset, Liege Unhung bit the tip of his tongue. After a while, he said, "See Ian, honestly speaking, if you won't even let me sleep with them, then what fun is there to be had at the autumn hunt?" "Plenty." Xiao Qi said, "Even basking in the sun is more interesting than you being cooped up in the tent." Liege Unhung kept sighing as he continued on, listless and dejected for the rest of the journey. When they arrived, it was nearly dark. Shenzhequan was not on duty on the first day, so he stayed behind to do odd jobs. Qiao Tianya came too and called the Jin Yue over to treat them to some meat. He saw the bowl in Shenzhequan's hand and suddenly said, "So you can drink, huh?" Shenzhequan said, "Just a bowl." Qiao Tianya did not expose him. This man did not look like a Jin Yue. He was more like someone from the martial fraternity. He used a dagger to wipe the roast meat and said, "Eat all you can now that you are at the hunting ground. This happens only once a year. What you are eating is all stuff the palace usually uses. So, seize the opportunity before you miss it." He chewed on the meat and said, "You have to bring a blade while you are on duty. When your turn comes tomorrow night, use Qiang's blade." "Why didn't you bring one? Didn't the domesticated elephant's office teach you 1 or 2 stances?" "The blade is too heavy." Looking as though he was too weak to lift it, Shenzhequan said, "It's too much for me to carry it along with me." "The bones in your body," Qiao Tianya said, "couldn't have been broken by that kick of second young master Xiao, could it? What a pity. That's a first-grade hoodlum, we can't extort him. Otherwise, with that one kick, this older brother can fleece him out of all his family fortune." The Jin Yue around them laughed. Shenzhequan moved the corners of his lips. As he sipped the wine, he took a quick look around along the rim of the bowl. All of them were inseparable from their blades. Other than him, who else was here to kill Prince Chu? Apart from those present here, there were still the assassins in the unseen shadows, and how many of them were lying in wait with cool detachment. Even if Xiao Qi was a natural-born talent, what were the odds that he could successfully protect Prince Chu under this heavy siege? Several tents away, Xiao Qi and Liege Unhung were still drinking wine and playing dice with the others. End chapter.